Alrighty, so I just got back from the Apple store, made my shake. Gonna sit down and kind of get into this video. So we'll grab my shake, grab some water, and then we'll get going. But I went to the Apple store, my keyboard on my computer has been kind of clicking. So like every time I would type the letter C, and occasionally like other random letters, I would get like 2 or 3 of them. So hopefully now it's fixed, it seems to be. So let's get into it. First off, I want to show you these coasters my dad made. So I got these all around the apartment. Benji Ball, founder and CEO. Nice little touch. All right, let's get this set up on the tripod. Let's get it screwed in. There we go. Should be tight. All right, let's go. Alrighty, so for this video, I kind of just want to talk about like what I've learned about networking, how it applies to my business, how the people I met have helped me grow my business and continue to help me grow my business. And I would like to consider myself good at networking, and kind of more so, I like to word it more so as just like getting in touch with people, especially people that beforehand you may not think were really kind of possible to get in touch with. That's always been something that I've enjoyed trying to do and the challenge behind it. So yeah, really kind of just want to talk about how I do it and what I've noticed from it as well. So I would say that 99% of the mentors that I have now, and even just like friends in business that I have now, were all people that started off as a cold DM. I just cold DM them. And it really honestly started back in high school. So like the first time I cold messaged someone, was actually kind of shooting my shot to Warren Buffett, the billionaire. I sent him a letter, and it wasn't anything where I had to like do research to find his address or anything, because people can just send him mail to his office. So I wrote him out like a 1-page letter, and this is where I really kind of started to learn how to formulate and how to format a letter or cold message to someone. So I sent it out, I think it was a sophomore and junior in high school, mailed it to him. Maybe like a couple weeks later, I got basically an auto response letter from him, basically just saying like, appreciate your message. I get a lot of these. I can't read them all, but just want to let you know, thank you for reaching out, blah, blah, blah. So that was really cool. I just got like a printed piece of mail that said Berkshire Hathaway up top, and then like his stamped signature at the bottom. So I thought that was cool enough to the point where I have it framed in my bedroom at home. And since then, I've kind of just got like addicted to cold reach outs and reaching out to people who beforehand I may not have thought that I could get in touch with. So since then, I've been able to reach out to and actually get in touch with multiple billionaires, people who have sold their company for hundreds of millions of dollars, and just like cool athletes or creators that their like email isn't really out there. You kind of have to do a little digging to find it. And that's been kind of what has turned into my mentor list. So from the Warren Buffett message, I then went on to get more into email. So at the time this next one that was a really like my first successful one, was a cold email that I sent to a billionaire hedge fund manager in Boston who is known as like the Buffett of Boston. That's like an article that came out about him. At the time, like I said, I was in college and I was studying finance and analytics, and I really kind of wanted to get my foot in the door in some way in a job in investment banking or private equity or hedge funds at some point. That was honestly where I thought my career was going to go. So I cold emailed this billionaire whose email wasn't public. I kind of did some digging and found out what it could have been and tried it, and thankfully it was it. And I basically just sent him a very short, like 4 or 5 line email, maybe like 2-3 sentences. Intro who I am, what I do. At the time I was a college student and college athlete, what I was studying, and my one simple question for him. And within, I think it was like 2 hours, I got a response from him. And the response was literally, what books have you read on investing? I'll put a screenshot right here of the response. So that was in 2019 or something like that. I don't remember off the top, but we'll see in this image. And since then, we've kept a constant stream of communication, pretty much having like 1 or 2 emails back and forth throughout those like now 4, 5, 6 years that it's been. So it's been pretty cool to know that I have that stream of communication going with a billionaire, one, but also someone that's like highly respected in the finance and investment industry, and an industry that I still follow closely. So that was where it really started, of like my love and desire to kind of network and cold reach out to people, and you never know where it can go. So since then, it's kind of just skyrocketed into like me really building my friend group and network and mentor group out of cold reach outs. So I'll touch more on that right now and kind of just tell you how I do it, but also what I've noticed from it and the importance of networking just in general. I think the best way to go about it is you really kind of want to do it in an organic way. So what I mean by that is you don't want to come off as asking for anything. In this way, like I never asked for anything. My questions weren't like, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? My questions were simply like a question that he asked me back or was like, what are some books that you would recommend? Any questions like that where it's kind of open-ended and it's not asking much of their time or like to meet them or for them to invest in anything. It was just a simple question, but also the personal aspect of it I think is the most important. So a lot of times people will just send copy and paste message emails off to 10, 20, 30 people, hoping to just get a response from some of them, but it's the same message they're sending to everyone. So why would that person want to respond to you? So the way I go about it is I keep it very short and sweet. I try to have a one-sentence intro of who I am. Hi, my name is Benjamin McAvoy. I'm the founder of Benji Ball, indoor-outdoor adaptable baseball game. Done. Second sentence, I'll say something about them, something personal. So if I just heard them on a podcast, I'll say, hey, I just heard you on so-and-so's podcast. I really loved how you explained whatever it was that you want to touch on. Any personal line, because there you're showing that you actually did research, you looked into like stuff about them. You really want to find like some way to make it very personal. So like I said, if you hear them on a podcast, you look up an article about them, you find a fun fact about just like something about how they got into the industry that shows you did some research and you're actually interested in them and what they're talking about or teaching or doing for work. I find that's where you're really going to have a much higher chance of success. So that'll be your second sentence. And the third sentence will basically be your question. So it could be anything. So if someone was reaching out to me and they had a question about manufacturing and finding a manufacturer for their business, they could say, hi, my name is so-and-so, this is what I do. I read about something you posted on LinkedIn, blah, 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 I really liked this. And then their last sentence could be, I'm having a lot of trouble finding a manufacturer for my business. Do you have any recommendations on how to go about doing so? And then end it with, thank you for your time. I know your time is very valuable. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to read this. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Boom. Short and sweet. It's like 3 sentences, a couple lines. It's easy for the person to read. And if they do respond, fantastic. If they don't, no worries. You can always follow up with them again in the future, but don't hammer them. Like, don't send a bunch of messages at once. If anything, honestly, I give like a month or 2 in between my follow-up messages if I really want to get in touch with this person, because I don't just want to flood their inbox and annoy them. I more so will then follow up, not with a question or anything saying like, hey, did you see my last message? It'll more so just be like, if there was something new that came out about them in terms of a big accomplishment, or if they were on a different podcast or a different piece of content that they put out that I liked, I'll just send them like a little like, hey, just saw this, great work, something simple like that. Because again, it just shows you care and you're actually following them. And also the biggest thing is actually being genuine. Like, you actually want to be interested in the person. Never reach out to someone with the intent of hoping to get something from them now or in the future. Like, the people that I reached out to were all people that I was just genuinely already watching and following on social media, or just studying in class, or just in my own free time as well. So I was already interested in what they were doing, and I just thought an added point on top of that for me would be if I could potentially get a response from them, even if it was like a, hey, thanks for your support. Something like that I always thought was so cool, and I still think is so cool. So now when I got into college, that was when I really started thinking about, okay, I want to build a business someday. I don't know how to do 99.99% of the stuff that goes into building a business. So how do I figure it out? You can read all the books you want. You can watch all the podcasts, listen to all the podcasts, watch all the YouTube videos that you want on it. But I think the best thing is actually reaching out to and learning from people who have done it. So I didn't have many people around me that have started a business and built a successful business. So that was where I needed to lean on social media and cold reach outs. And that was where I leaned on podcasts. So I started finding out about all these different podcasts that interviewed entrepreneurs, creators, athletes, people doing just super cool things. And every single person that was on that podcast as a guest, or any of these podcasts that I found interesting, I followed them on social media, I shot them a DM, and then I just continued to watch their videos and support them. And it wasn't anything where I would really DM immediately after I followed them. I kind of wanted to get to know them a little bit more outside of the podcast or the avenue in which I found them in the first place. So I listened to them on the podcast or the YouTube video or wherever. I followed them on social media, and then I just continued to kind of just see what they were posting or what they were up to. And then when I felt the time was right, which was more of just like a gut instinct, that's when I reached out to them and actually sent my first cold message. So through doing this kind of just nonstop from basically like sophomore year of college all the way up through senior year of college and still till now, I would say the majority was done sophomore year of college through senior year. I probably sent out hundreds of cold messages and really started to build like a message bait, like a basis of communication with probably like 75 to 100 people. And those 75 to 100 people were like top entrepreneurs that I was following and really admired what they were doing and still admire what they're doing. Content creators in general that were posting content in the avenues and industries that I was really fascinated in. And those were people that I had never met in person. Most of them lived on the complete opposite side of the country. I was in Massachusetts, they lived in California. And I never had any intent on actually meeting them and never thought that was actually going to be possible. And it's funny, me and one of my buddies back home were actually talking in college about like, oh, how cool would it be if one day you meet so-and-so or one day you meet so-and-so. And that was just kind of like a pipe dream and something that was just kind of like floating in the air and I never thought was actually possible, like I said. But all throughout those 3 years, I never asked for anything. Like I never asked to get on a call. There was actually one of the guys that I like really admire. We were communicating back and forth and we got to the point where we were like, hey, let's actually get on a call and chop it up for a bit. So that was great. We had a 30-minute call and that was one of the coolest things I've had. And a memory that I'll forever be able to have because of just what I learned on that call about business in general. And that was in such an early phase where I just had an idea of what the business was going to be and I hadn't really done much with it. But since then, I've still continued to follow him and keep in touch with him. And I won't like drop names of anyone here, but it's all people that I really admire and still do admire to this day and will continue to support whatever it is that they're doing because they gave me so much support in the early days and still now. So the only time and first time that I asked these people for anything was when I graduated college. I decided that I was going to treat myself with a solo trip out to California, Los Angeles, and basically see who I could actually meet up with out of all these people. So when I bought the trip, it's a couple months after I graduated, I bought the trip, I DM'd every single person that I knew that lived out here that I had communicated with throughout those past 34 years. And I was like, hey, I'm coming out to Los Angeles. I bought myself a trip as a graduation gift. If you have any time between these dates when I'm there, I would love to buy you a coffee, buy you lunch, shake your hand and say thank you. And that was literally all it was. I left it at that. If they opened it and didn't respond, which a couple did, no worries. Maybe I'll meet them someday. If they did respond, fantastic. If they didn't respond, no worries at all, like even if they didn't see it. So when I went out there, I think I had probably 25 people like scheduled that were like, hey, let's do it. Let's grab coffee. Let's grab lunch. And I ended up meeting up with probably like 75 out of the people that I DM'd with, which still to me is insane. So out of that, I sent all those DMs. And I think the biggest thing with that is, like I said, those people have provided me so much value throughout those previous years to where I then went and I wanted to give them something. Even though like some of these people had sold their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars and I was a broke college student coming out with student loan debt and didn't really have much money. But I was like, I want to buy you coffee. I want to buy you lunch. Something so simple and not expensive, but I wanted to give them a thank you in person and honestly just shake their hand and say thanks. So, and thank you for all the support and help that they've given over the years. So I think that was a really big thing that helped was like, I didn't want to, hey, let's go for lunch. It was like, I want to buy you lunch if you have time, I want 5 minutes of your time. If you have time for a coffee, anything like that. And with that, I was able to meet all of these people. So just kind of overall relating to the actual message that you're gonna send, whether it be an Instagram DM, an email, a physical letter, I would say probably like the first thing is to make it personal. Show the person that you actually looked into who they are, what they're doing, and that you actually found like interesting notes that you want to talk about. So for example, I think the best thing is if a great new article came out that either someone wrote or that someone was mentioned in that you want to get in touch with, like mention that article and mention a key point from it that stood out to you about it. Because then it really shows that interest and that personal aspect, that you took the time to learn more about them and what they're talking about, whether it's a specific accomplishment they had, the industry they're in, or their job that they're doing. Anything along those lines, I think, is where you really started off and show them that this isn't just a copy and paste message that you sent out to a bunch of people. Number two, I would say, is just genuine curiosity. Like, you don't just reach out to someone just to reach out to someone. I think the best thing is everyone that I'm reaching out to is someone that I find interesting and fascinating, and I'm genuinely curious to learn more about them and ask them questions. And I think in podcasts, you see this a lot, where people are going to have guests on the podcast that they themselves, the interviewer, are genuinely curious about. Yes, they have a guest yes, they have an audience that is going to be listening to the podcast, but in the end, the best podcast episodes are coming from when the interviewer is genuinely curious and interested in who the person is and what makes the person that they're interviewing work well and what makes them the person that they are today. So for me, when I'm reaching out to someone, it's that one, making the message very personal to show that I'm actually like researching who they are and interested in who they are. And the second one is just that genuine curiosity of like, I really want to get to know this person and I am genuinely interested in what this person is doing. And the third thing that I would say, and something that I don't think enough people are willing to do because they're kind of afraid of it, is just be a fan. Like, be a fan of the person and show love and show appreciation for what they're doing. So if they had a big accomplishment or they announced something cool, show them some love. Like, send them a DM, comment on their posts, like their posts, share them. And the biggest thing I can say is be a fan without any expectation of anything in return. Show love, leave it out there. Don't expect anything in return. Don't even expect a like back on your comment, a like on your share, or anything like that. Anything that they do give is just a plus, but don't expect anything in return. Because being a fan is just like, I genuinely wanted and still want to see these people succeed. And it makes me so happy to see my friends and even people that I don't even know, but that are people that I'm supporting succeed. So third one, be a fan of the person. Fourth one is touch points. I think that's a big one, and something that I emphasize to a lot of my friends when they're reaching out to certain people is you want to have like something, your end goal, if it is like grabbing a coffee or lunch with someone or even just getting a response from them, that end goal isn't something that you should rush to. The best part about the whole process is the journey, and then everything after that is just a plus on top of it. So I would say kind of know when to have these touch points. So your initial message, go ahead, fire it away. But like I said, if they don't respond, don't like harp on that and don't let that tear you down. So maybe a month later, they have another big post on LinkedIn or a YouTube video that does well, or just something that you appreciated. Anything that you noticed that you genuinely liked or appreciated or learned something from, shoot another message off to them. Again, it can just be like, hey, really love this video. This was a big takeaway I got from it. Keep crushing it. Something like that. That's a simple message I sent many, many times because it was something that was just genuine. I was following everything they were doing. I learned a lot from what they were doing and just wanted to let them know that I appreciated them taking the time to talk about it, post about it, and allow me and everyone else to listen and read it. So third one is touch points. So they always say, like, I don't know the exact number, but for me, I think it's like 6 or 7 touch points where I think is, especially on a sale, like if you're trying to sell someone like a clicker or something, there's going to be all different amounts of touch points that you're going to have to get that product in front of a customer. Now we're kind of going off of DMs and more so into just like products in general, but this kind of applies to everything. So you want to have multiple touch points with a person, whether you're trying to sell them a product as a business founder, or even if you're just trying to get in touch with someone and meet someone. it may require multiple touch points. So just be careful with when you're having those touch points. I always try to say, don't just flood their inbox. Like, do it in a way where you're showing genuine interest. It all ties back to being genuine. It does, honestly. So I would say, like, for me, honestly, most of my messages where if I didn't get a response immediately, it was probably like, I don't know, maybe a month or so later that I would send a follow-up one. It was all organic though. Like I wasn't like waiting for a certain time. It was just if something popped up that I thought was cool, boom, I'd send a message off to him saying, great work, love what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Something along those lines. And I think something that kind of does tie into that aspect of being a fan is just value up front. So how can you provide value to this person? They're providing value inadvertently to you through the content they're putting out. But in a short, simple message, how can you provide value to them? Now you may be thinking, and this is honestly what I was thinking and still sometimes think, is if you're talking to someone whose company is doing tens of millions of dollars a year, or they just sold the company for hundreds of millions, what value could I possibly provide for them? Someone that has all the money in the world or is having all the success in the world, at least from the outside, you think. So that was where I was curious. I was like, what could I possibly provide them that would be valuable to them? But you can provide something. And it doesn't have to be anything physical. It doesn't have to be anything that requires money or anything of monetary value. I think the biggest thing of value is just a simple compliment. Like, show people that you appreciate what they're doing. Because for me, I think that's so cool when I get a message from someone that says, hey, I saw what you were posting on LinkedIn or on TikTok or YouTube. I learned this thing from it. Thank you for posting it. Like that, people may not think is you providing value, but honestly, a lot of times that's a lot more valuable than a gift you could give someone, like a physical gift. So don't get caught up in that aspect of like, oh, I can't provide anything from them because I'm 19 years old, I'm a sophomore in college, and they're 32 and they're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year and they have everything in the world. Don't get caught up in that. The value can be something literally as simple as a compliment. And just to end it on this last note, I think one of the biggest things is just be yourself. Like, just talk to them as if you were talking to your mom, dad, or friend, like best friend. That's what people want when they're meeting someone new or talking to someone new, is they just want to meet you in your most authentic form. So be that most authentic form, because now when the time comes where, whether it's a month, a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, if you do actually meet this person and you had been chatting with them all through that prior time, you want that to just feel like you're continuing that conversation. You don't want it to feel like a whole new person they're meeting. Because think about it, if someone had messaged you and they were super nice and super interested in what you're doing, but then all of a sudden you meet in person and they're only talking about themselves, or they're completely opposite of how they were talking on messages, you would lose interest in that conversation and desire to actually meet and talk with that person very quick. So just be yourself. That's the biggest thing. And honestly, just like the ask. So when the time comes for the ask, so if your goal is to meet this person and shake their hand and thank them in person, like it was for me. Again, I didn't expect to actually become friends with any of these people. I didn't think that was even going to be possible. I didn't even think meeting them was probably going to be possible. But it was always like an end goal. Hopefully I can meet them one day. That was the goal. It was never I will. It was just kind of like, hopefully I can if our paths cross, because again, we were in completely different sides of the country. So the ask was when I graduated college and I decided to buy my trip out here. And I bought that flight, I paid for the hotel, and I got it all scheduled. And that was when I finally made the ask. And again, it wasn't saying like, hey, let's grab lunch. It was just simple of, I would love to buy you lunch. I would love to grab a coffee with you. I'd love to shake your hand and thank you in person if you have 5 minutes. Something as simple as that. The value of everyone's time is valuable, so you want to respect that and appreciate that. So even if it is just 2 to 5 minutes that you get with that person, make the most of it, enjoy it, thank them for it, shake their hand, boom. That's all you need. So that whole premise of like kind of how to reach out to people, the best way to do it, and kind of like the key points on it has been what has allowed me to build this massive network of people in all different industries who are doing all different cool things, unique things, to where now if I have a question about literally anything, or if a friend has a question about anything and I don't know the answer, I know exactly who to go to. And 99% of these people that I'm gonna go to ask these questions are people that the conversation with them and the relationship with them started as a cold message. So never be afraid to shoot a cold message out to someone, build that network. It has helped me immensely, and I know it can help you because I've seen it applied for many other people that I know, and just honestly through following people on social media who also talk about this same thing. So continue building the network. Don't be afraid to shoot out a cold message. If you have any other questions about it, let me know. Happy to answer and kind of dive deeper into what I do and how I do it, and the success that I've found with it. So it's been endlessly beneficial for me, not even just in the knowledge I build, but just the friendships that I built, which I think is more valuable than anything. So appreciate you guys for watching this. Looking forward to the third video. So tap in soon. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk soon. See ya.